Cain and Abel. Morgan Masinde. The story of Cain and Abel is found in the book of Genesis, specifically in Genesis chapter 4 verse 1 to 16. It tells us the tragic tale of two brothers, Cain and Abel, and the consequences of their offerings to God. After Adam and Eve were expelled from the Garden of Eden, they began a family, and their first sons were Cain and Abel. Cain and Abel, a farmer. Cain became a farmer, while Abel became a shepherd. In time, they both brought offerings to God as an act of worship. Abel offered the finest and fattest of his flock, presenting them to God with a sincere and obedient heart. God regarded Abel's offerings favorably, accepting it as a pleasing sacrifice. On the other hand, Cain brought some of the fruits of his land as an offering. However, God did not look favorably on Cain's offerings because it lacked the same sincerity and obedience that Abel's displayed. This rejection caused Cain to become angry and resentful towards his brother. God, seeing Cain's anger, warned him to guard against sin and advised him to do what is right. He told Cain that if he did well, he would be accepted. However, if he did not, sin was crouching at his door, ready to consume him. Despite this warning, Cain lured Abel into a field and killed him out of jealousy and rage. When God discovered that had happened, he confronted Cain and pronounced a curse upon him. As a consequence of his crime, Cain will become a wanderer, marked with a sign of divine protection to prevent others from harming him. What can we learn from the story of Cain and Abel? Point number 1: worship and obedience. The story highlights the importance of sincere worship and obedience to God. Abel's offerings were accepted because he presented it with a pure heart, while Cain's offerings was rejected due to his lack of sincerity and obedience. It reminds believers that true worship involves not just the act itself, but also the attitude of the worshipper. 2. Consequences of sin. The story depicts the devastating consequences of jealousy, anger, and murder. Cain's anger toward his brother led him to commit the first act of murder in human history. It serves as a warning about the destructive nature of sin, the need to guard against its influences. 3. Responsibility for others. God's question to Cain, "Where is your brother?" highlight the importance of our responsibility towards others. It reminds us to care for and protect our fellow human beings rather than succumbing to selfishness and envy. 4. Mercy and justice. Despite pronouncing a curse on Cain, God also mercifully marked him for protection. This shows that even in judgment, God extends mercy to humanity. It demonstrates God's desire for justice while also leaving room for redemption and restoration. 5. Lessons on repentance. Cain's response to God's punishment reveals his remorse and fear of the consequences he will face as a wanderer. It indicates the possibilities of repentance and turning back to God, even after committing grievous sin. The story of Cain and Abel serves as a cautionary tale about the importance of genuine worship, our responsibility towards others, the consequences of sin, and the potential for redemption. It teaches lessons about the significance of obedience, the destructive nature of jealousy and anger, and the importance of seeking reconciliation and forgiveness. Additionally, it underscores God's justice, mercy, and the opportunity for repentance and restoration. By Masinde Morgan.